Okay, if you're anything like me, which you probably are if you're here watching crafty videos, then you probably love giving handmade cards around the holidays. The problem is when you want to give homemade cards to so many people, it takes forever to make that many. So I have a little hack for you. In this video, I'm going to show you how I make handmade cards in bulk, quickly and easily, and with very minimal art supplies. So that when you need one for your hairstylist and your daycare provider and your mother-in-law and that person who's hosting the potluck you're going to and everyone else under the sun, but you don't have time to make them, you can just reach right into your bulk pile. Let's just do it. Okay, so here's my watercolor paper. Then I have obviously some watercolor. These are from Stone Ground Paints and I just happen to have them, and I have some brushes. So I have one that's a square end to use for doing my stripes. Then I have one for doing my bows. And this one I'll show you for a little detail at the end. But whatever brushes you have, you can make it work with whatever. You could also definitely just do this with markers. If you don't have watercolor, if you're not comfortable with watercolor, just use markers. But we're gonna make this really, really simple. So the first thing I'm gonna do is get the color I want really, really wet. I'm just using this reddish, kind of like rusty color. Again, you can use whatever color you want. So I'm getting it really wet and I'm gonna make a puddle over here with tons of water in it. Once I have my color ready, I'm just adding a lot of water to it and not a ton of color so that it's kind of like a light rust color. And I'm honestly just painting stripes, not overthinking it. They do not need to be perfectly straight. They do not need to be perfect, and the color does not need to be consistent the whole way through. It can be so simple. So then add a little more water, a little more paint. You can do some that have more saturation in them and some that have less. I find that variation really pretty. And then also, if you find that while it's wet, it doesn't look dark enough, you can add more paint, just tap some in. But I actually find I love the ones that end up looking really light. So I'm just gonna fill my entire page with these stripes from the top to the bottom. Some with more color, some with less. Just do the entire thing. You might notice your paper starts to warp a little bit when you add water to it, and that's fine, it's totally normal. If you are getting driven insane by that, you can also tape down your paper. It just means you won't be able to go completely to the edges and you'll need to trim off some edges after, which is fine too. Whatever makes you happy. I don't mind how much the paper is warping right now. I'm just kind of like going with it because I also don't care if these lines are perfectly straight or perfectly even. It doesn't bother me. It's gonna look handmade and that's the point. So like I said, I'm doing this rusty red color. I just like that it's not like really in your face Christmassy red, but you could also do absolutely any colors you want. You could make it as Christmassy as you want and make it like bold red and bold green or whatever you want. I just like this kind of like toned down Christmas color, especially because I am going to be gifting these as cards and I anticipate that maybe someone would have it like on their kitchen island or something, you know, and maybe they don't want my bright color choices as part of their decor. So I'm just making it kind of neutral. But because this is so easy, you could do a whole bunch of different ones in all different colors. But that's step one. So I've got all my stripes painted in and now I'm just gonna wait for this to dry and then I'm gonna show you what the next step will be. Okay, this is nice and dry now. I'm going to take my rounder brush, get it wet, and I'm using the exact same colors again. So, well, single color. I shouldn't say colors because it's only one. So I'm gonna grab a bunch more of that paint, add to my puddle a little bit. And now I'm gonna use a bit more color than I was in the stripes just because I want this part to really stand out. So what I'm gonna do is paint some bows. And I like the middle of the bow to start on the center of a stripe. So I'm gonna do this one right at the top here. And it doesn't have to be anything perfect. There's no need to like go in and sketch it out first or anything. We're just kind of freehanding like a really simple bow. Again, lots of water, lots of paint. So this is all a monochrome color. Like this is all one color in different intensities of paint, different amounts of paint for each part. So really simple bow, 2 loops. There we go. Okay, bow number 1. So simple. And now we're just gonna put those randomly all over this page. You don't wanna make like a perfect pattern because it'll look too like a pattern. You don't want it to look like a pattern. You want it to look like a handmade, random, irregular kind of assortment of these bows. So don't overthink it too much. The only kind of thing that I try to do is make them all approximately the same size. It's okay if they're a little bit off, but if you start making like little tiny ones and then giant ones, it kind of affects the design. I mean, you could do that. If you want to do that, just do it like really on purpose, like exaggerate some really big and exaggerate some really small. But if they kind of look like they're meant to be all the same size and then they're not, it ends up being a little weird. There we go. So now I'm going to get my paintbrush nice and saturated with paint, watery paint. You don't want it to be all paint, like you want it to have some water in it. Then I'm going to take it over my art and I'm just going to tap my paintbrush and get some splotches down on my, I don't know what it is about this splotch technique, but I just, on stuff like this that's meant to look like handmade and imperfect, I just think it looks so pretty and it just gives it like a little bit of a more handmade watercolory feel. So now we're gonna let it dry. Okay, now that this is dry, we're gonna cut it up into card sizes. So I have my paper cutter here. You could also just use scissors, no problem. I have a ruler. You can measure on here, but it breaks my brain, so I just use a regular ruler. So I know that this is 11 by 15 paper. So 15 divided by 2 would be 7.5. And then 11 divided by 2, 5.5. Then I'm going to cut it on both of those lines this way. And just to be clear, you can cut these to whatever size you want. They don't have to be I'm making this 4 cards, but you could totally cut them smaller and make them into however many cards you want. Like you could do a whole bunch of little tiny cards. You can do absolutely anything. They also don't have to be folded cards like I'm gonna do. You could just make them little squares and have like the front be the design and write something on the back. They don't have to be folded cards. They can be whatever you want. Now that I have them cut, I'm gonna fold them. And I love the randomness of where the bows land. Sometimes there's no full bow on the front, but there's a nice full bow on the back. It really kind of depends where your bows were placed, but I love the look of them no matter what. And they're all gonna be slightly different, which is fun. If you really cared about the bow, like one bow landing fully on the front, you could kind of plan it out. When you have your full paper, you could mark out where the cards are gonna be and you can place your bows. But I like the randomness of this. I like that it doesn't look like I just plunked a bow right on the front. For example, this one has a bow, but it's kind of going off the edge, which I really like the look of. And this one ends up with 2 partial bows. I just think they look so cute like this. So now I have these all completely done. You could absolutely leave them blank and just put greetings on the inside of the cards. I like to put a little greeting on each one on the front. And I'm gonna use a micron pen. This is size 02, but again, whatever you have, it does not have to be exactly what I'm using. And I like to just kind of look at the design of the card and decide where I want my greeting to be. So for this one, I kind of like it here, like off to the side a bit. Just line it up as best as I can. And I like to write Christmas first. I'm just gonna do this one in block letters and I'll do some different styles on the other ones just to show you. but it doesn't have to be anything fancy. These are very imperfect letters, but look how cute they look. It just looks really adorable, no matter where you put it on the card, or if it's perfect, or if it's imperfect, if it's centered, if it's not, it looks really cute. That's almost the last step, but I have a couple more things I want to do. For this one, I think I'm going to put it along the bottom, and I think I'll do it in a cute little calligraphy. By the way, if you need help with writing cute holiday sayings, I have a free worksheet. I made a whole video a few weeks ago about how to do calligraphy greetings. So I'll link to that too. But this can just be your handwriting. It can be calligraphy. It can be whatever you want. There we go. Adorable card number 2. And I'll do the same things on the next 2. Okay, so lots of different options for how you can write the greeting. You also obviously don't have to write Merry Christmas. You can write whatever you want. And the very last step, completely optional, but that I love to do to just kind of like finish it off, is I open up the card and I grab my paint again, tiny bit of water, tiny bit of color on my brush, and I'm just adding a little bow in the bottom corner. Just to kind of like tie it all together, make it look like the inside wasn't forgotten. I just think it looks so cute. Adorable. So I'll do that on all 4 of them. And there we go. All 4 cards completely done. All different and unique, but easy to make in bulk. Now again, I made this into 4, but if you wanted to have even more that you could use to gift to people, you could even cut them in half and just make them a flat card. You could even cut these in 4 and make them little tiny adorable cards, whatever you need to do. And then I also experimented with making them in slightly different colors. So this one's really pink, and they look just as cute. And there you have it, some super cute holiday cards made in bulk that you can just grab on the go whenever you need a card. You could do this with tons of different colors, all sorts of different styles. It's really a concept that you could replicate in so many different ways. I hope you found this helpful. I'm gonna link you to another video next that I think you might find helpful for the holidays, and I'll see you over there.